Maybe you just got yourself a brand new ROG Xbox Ally X, or maybe you're thinking about getting a brand new ROG Xbox Ally X. Either way, this video has one very specific purpose, which is to address what, in my opinion, is at least amongst the three biggest change that we've had from going to the Ally to the Xbox Ally. And one thing, without a doubt, is the grips, which we'll talk about. But one thing that I feel like I haven't seen in videos that either I made or videos that I watch, whether it is for this current device or any previous PC and handheld devices, is how good are the controls? And not about how I feel, you know, how about how it's going to perform in the game? Nothing like that. I'm talking about the technical portion. How does it really do? Because one thing, and hopefully you'll agree with me, with those companies drastically inflating the prices, and I get it, a lot of that price is being driven by the rise of prices of the APUs, which in this case, the Z2 Extreme is being inflated by AMD. Okay, but then I raise the question, okay, what is Asus doing to give you a better device based off of the price that you're paying? What is MSI doing to give you a better device? What is Lenovo, Ioneo, GPD, One X Player? What are these companies doing to give you a better device? And one thing that I do on my channel is talk about controls from a very technical point of view. And so I thought, you know what? How about I put this thing through the ringer and see if what is in there is good? And not to worry, I'll get you that information in that video. But before we do, there's one thing I want to show you super quick. Just want you to know that, you know, some of the numbers I'll pull out is not pulling out of my ass. There's an actual device for me to test these things and get the value that I need, which is paired with software. But that's not the point of this video. My point is it's backed by tools, hardware, software that is thankfully, now I'm not the maker of the hardware, I'm not the maker of the software, I'm not intelligent like that, but I know how to use it. And I want to thank Gen Punch for being the smart one. But yeah, I'm here to bring you guys the data. Okay, and that was the Prometheus 82, by the way. And if ever you're interested, there's a video about this, but this is not what this video is about. So let's start with the main thing, ergonomics. And yes, in my opinion, it does, I want to say 95% a better job at ergonomics than the previous Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X. And the reason is those grips. It does a better job at making it feel lighter in your hands, like sitting in your palms kind of thing. It does a better job at just giving you what I so far feel like is easier to do long durations. Something that makes it easier to do long duration, also hold it upright. And one thing that I saw mentioned in the Linus Tech Tips review is that the screen was angled. And yeah, indeed, it is the case. And this is something I also think is really nice, especially if you're either sitting down or standing up, because it just gives you a better angle as you're looking down. It kind of, how can I put this? With the way that the grips are designed, it feels like it's just aligning the screen a little bit better for the overall ergonomics to come through. So I think this does a great job. As far as the buttons, the sticks, the face buttons, bumpers, triggers, all that is exactly the same as what you have on the Ally. There are a few things though that I've noticed with the massive improvements of the ergonomics, making it more comfortable, easy to use for longer durations. But I do find, because it pushes your hands a little bit outwards versus the previous device, in comparison at least, and I feel like with this grip, which is also very comfortable by the way, it makes using the bumpers and triggers just easier. They're easier of reach. Whereas on this new model, it's still very easy to hit them, but it's like your fingers are further away. So I feel like you don't have as good a hold on those specific buttons, which, you know, I wouldn't think it's to the point that you wouldn't be able to play a shooter, but if you like to have, especially the triggers and bumper, if you have to like a good hold on them, at least for my hand size, I feel like it doesn't do exactly as good a job with this device. Not a big deal, just something I thought I'd mention. Kind of, you know, a very small con to what is overall an extremely well executed Pro when it comes down to ergonomics. But you're all here for the juicy stuff, and we don't need to make this video any longer than it is. Let me get you to the juicy stuff, which is going to be pulling rate. So when looking at pulling rate specifically, we have 609 and 7. And look, I'm okay with this. I think Would I like more? Of course. And technically speaking, you could probably overclock the COM port on which the controller is connected to, right? Because this is all a big panel. This is all a big computer that is like on one super small board. So logically speaking, the way that this operates, the controller portion of your Ally X is going to be connected somewhere on the board through what is called a communication port. And so there are tools out there to overclock. I haven't overclocked. Personally, I don't like to use that. I like my devices to work better out of the box. But technically with overclocking, we should be able to improve that number. With that said, 609 is honestly fine. It's not great. It's nothing to write home about. Like, you have a lot of controllers that go for 20, 30 bucks that will reach 1,000, and you have some that even goes up to 8,000. Polling rate is not everything, but the more you have it, the faster it communicates to your device. And that is the kind of thing that could easily improve the mouse mode as well. Even though it's quite good, it could definitely make it for a better experience and just have a better experience as a whole, especially when it comes to sticks. Buttons and face buttons, D-pad, not as important. When it comes to the sticks, it would make a great deal of improvement if ever we were to have that at a higher polling rate. But the other important things is going to be your button latency and your stick latency. And this is where in particular, I must admit, I'm disappointed. That doesn't mean that ASUS would not be able to improve that with a firmware update over, time. It's not impossible, but there's potentially hardware that would be necessary for them to be able to achieve better latency. And look, 26 milliseconds, 21 milliseconds, in the big scheme of things, is it a big deal? No, it's absolutely usable. I'm not trying to say that it feels laggy. It's not the case. But you have controllers that reach literally a 1 millisecond on button latency and like 3 milliseconds on stick. And having a much better latency is better for your response time. It's better for just the experience, the smoothness that you get out of those sticks. And for those not to be able to achieve that, in my opinion, is kind of disappointing, because we're talking about a controller that is connected through wire to your PC through a long USB cable, and yet it can achieve something as little as a tenth of the numbers that we're seeing here on something is all enclosed onto a board. Look, companies are charging us premiums. I get that, but I think they should be working on improving the hardware based off of the price that we pay. ASUS did, in my opinion, a phenomenal job with the Xbox Ally X. But I think we need to drive that conversation a little further, because as something that is all connected, it should be snappy, it should be responsive. And right now we have a lot of devices, some that costs way less. Like, for example, I reviewed recently the Goalie Kit ES Pros, controllers that goes for $27 and $30 US, that are blazingly faster than what you have here. We're talking in that range, 2 to 3 milliseconds for buttons and sticks. So this, no, that doesn't work. So, I do want to shed a light on this, because I feel like we need to have more people talking about this. This is important for the future of PC handhelds. This is important for people that potentially could turn to this for competitiveness, but for just even whether you're competitive or not, for everybody, it ultimately is a benefit in the experience that you're going to have. And so I do believe that they could do better, and I hope that we'll see better down the road, either through firmware update or just improved hardware. And so there it is, guys. That's what it all means, and this is why I wanted to drive this conversation. This is just my very first video on the Xbox Ally X. There will be more videos. Please share that to some people. Let them know about what we have working here. And of course, when I do a final review of the Xbox Ally X, I'll try to bring more devices into the mix, because the reality is this is something I'm starting to do. It's possible that the Ally X is just so much better than the average, just like it's possible that it's on the average, or it could also be worse. I don't have that data yet, but I'll work on getting that data. And if that data is important to you, make sure to let me know in the comment box. Make sure to let me know by liking and making sure that this video is shared to more people. And of course, subscribing to not miss any future content where I will address these types of things. I'm Clef. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.